All right, good evening. I call to order the Murray City Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, December 19th, 2024. It is 6:30 p.m. Present this evening, we have Commissioners Pete Hristo, Michael Richards, Jake Pearson, Michael Henry, and I am Marian Patterson. I'm the chair. Excused is Ned Hacker and Lisa Malkiewicz. From staff, we have Zachary Smallwood, David Rogers, Mark Richardson, and Ruth Rurock. We welcome the public. Thank you for attending our meeting. We always are grateful to have you here. Some etiquette items to review. We ask that you take a moment and silence your cell phones. When the time comes to make a comment on an agenda item, we ask that you would come to the podium and speak into the microphone for the recording. We also ask that you state your name and address for the minutes. Once the item you are here for is over, you are welcome to leave. We just ask that you do so quietly so we can continue with our remaining items. If you are viewing this meeting online on the live stream, the only way to make a public comment is to email planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. If you post a comment on the Facebook or YouTube comment section, it will not be seen. All right, so we will start with agenda item number 1, our meeting minutes from November 21st. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Chair, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 meeting.
With the change.
With the
Yeah, we had to
No.
strike.
As the findings.
Those are findings of fact.
No, he voted on it, right? Oh, okay, sorry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest with any of the agenda items this evening?
No.
No.
Neither do I. Okay, approval of findings of fact. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the findings of fact and conclusion for Game Show Battle Rooms, Lazy Dog Restaurant, Murray Burton Acres, Villages on Vine Subdivision, and Plan Unit Development?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the findings of fact for Game Show Battle Rooms, Lazy Dog Restaurant, Murray Burton Acres, with one change we talked about in the pre-meeting, striking Commissioner Henry from the vote since he was not present, Villages on Vine Subdivision, and Plan Unit Development.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We'll move into our business, agenda item number 4. We have a conditional use permit for Serena Webb Dance Studio. Is the applicant here? Okay, great. We'll have a presentation from staff and then we'll have you come up.
All right, thank you. So here is an application for a conditional use permit for a dance studio business at 4700 South, 900 East, suite number 43. Here is the location of the site. It is in an existing building within the Ivy Place Shopping Plaza, and the unit for the proposed business is about 12,000 square feet. And the subject property is located in the CD zone, and it's surrounded by other property zoned for CD as well, and there is MCMU zone north of the property. Here is the site plan and floor plan provided by the applicant. A dancing area with mirrors will be added to the space. And the subject property has 2 access points from 900 East and 4680 South. And staff calculated a minimum of 36 spaces. Parking spaces are required, and staff does not have any issues with parking. And so 9 notices of this meeting was sent to the public, and staff has not received any public comments. And so as for our findings, the proposed use for a dance studio is allowed in the CD zoning district subject to conditional use permit approval. And with conditions, the proposed use and property will comply with the standards of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance, and the proposed use is not contrary to the goals and objectives of the general plan in this area. And so with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit to allow a dance studio business at this location, subject to these 3 conditions. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, if there's no questions, we can have the applicant come forward. And if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Serena Webb, and my address is 1085 East, 8600 South, Sandy, Utah.
Great. Have you had an opportunity to review these conditions?
Yes.
And you'll be able to comply with those?
Yes.
Great. Is there any other information you'd like to give the commission about your project?
Nope, it's
No?
pretty straightforward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I would like to open the meeting for public comment regarding this agenda item. If you would like to make a public comment, we ask that you do so at the podium. Please state your name and address into the microphone for the record before your comment, and try to keep your thoughts to 3 minutes. We ask that you offer new information in your comments. Please do not rehash already stated concerns. After the public comment portion of the meeting is over, we will address your questions or concerns with the applicant or staff. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment on this agenda item? Do you receive any emails? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back for discussion or a motion.
Just one quick question. The restrooms just shows doors out. I assume are those shared with the rest of that building?
It's just for that unit. Those restrooms are just for that unit.
Do you have further questions?
It just doesn't show up on the plan, but I'll take your word for it.
Chair, I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit to allow a dance studio business of the property located at 4700 South, 900 East, number 43, subject to the 3 conditions.
Is there a
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Pearson and a second by Commissioner Henry to approve the conditional use permit to allow dance studio at the property address 4700 South, 900 East, Suite 43, subject to the 3 conditions. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we can take a vote.
Awesome. Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Motion is approved. Congratulations. Good luck with your business. Okay, moving on. Murray Zevex Park Lane subdivision amendment. The applicant is not here. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was informed he would not be here tonight.
Okay, perfect. So we will move forward.
Okay, so this is a subdivision amendment for the Murray Zevex Park Lane subdivision. There are 2 lots that are located at 4260 and 4272 South of Zevex Park Lane. This is the site. It's just under 4 acres, and as mentioned before, it's a subdivision amendment. This site is zoned MG, and everything that's around it within Murray City is also zoned MG. It's in the far northwest corner of the city. So this is the current subdivision. It's currently divided right here. So this is all one lot, and then this is another lot. And they're changing it so that the lot is now split right here, and they're adding a 25-foot access easement to access this lot here. 16 public notices were mailed in connection with this proposed subdivision amendment. As of this meeting, staff has not received any emails about the property. Based on the analysis and review of the proposed subdivision amendment, the staff has found the subdivision of land is allowed by Utah State Code Section 10-9A-602, subsection 2, subsection A, subsection 3, and with the conditions, this proposed subdivision amendment will meet those requirements. The proposed lot complies with the MG regulations, and the subdivision amendment complies with the regulations of Title 16, which is the subdivision ordinance, and with the standards of Chapter 17.152, which is the MG zone. So based on that, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the proposed subdivision amendment subject to the following conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, if there are no questions, since the applicant is not here, I know you indicated that they would, through email, be able to comply with these conditions.
Yes, that's correct. I received confirmation that the applicant has read through and will comply with all of the conditions.
Okay, perfect. Then I will open this agenda item for public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? No? And we didn't receive any email item? Okay. Then I will close the public comment period and bring it back for discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve the proposed subdivision amendment for Murray Zevix, is that right? Park Lane, subject to the following three conditions.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Richards and a second by Commissioner Hursto to approve the proposed subdivision amendment for Murray Zevix Park Lane subdivision, adjusting lots 3A and 3B for the properties addressed 4272 South, 4260 South Zevix Park, subject to the three conditions. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we can take a vote.
Commissioner Richards?
Yes.
Commissioner Huristo?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Chair Patterson?
Yes. So motion is approved. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 6, zone map amendment. Remind me how to say the name, Mohammed. Say it one more time. Pork Zami. Is the applicant here? Thank you. Okay, first we'll have a presentation from staff.
Perfect, thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is a request to amend the zoning map from R110 to R16. It's located here at 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street. It's right next to the, I believe it's the Presbyterian Church. You can see the two properties here highlighted. It is currently in the R110 zone. This zone was applied in 2003 when Murray City annexed this area in from unincorporated Salt Lake County. So as you can see here to the north, there's some RM10, which is residential multifamily. And then down here, I didn't zoom out far enough, but there is an R16 subdivision that abuts along Vine Street at about 13th East as well. Also for your information, these two properties here and then these two properties that are off screen are also duplexes. Initially, when staff was reviewing this and discussing with the applicant, we weren't going to move forward with a positive recommendation, but after reviewing the neighboring properties, we felt that it actually is not that dissimilar from other properties nearby, and so we are going to be supporting it. The future land use map also does support this change. It states that it's in a low-density residential area. The R16 is in both categories, the low-density and the medium-density residential, as stated here. So R16, R18, R110 are all located in that future land use class. So it is supported by the general plan. Differences in the R16 compared to the R110. Largely, it's going to be with regards to the lot size. So in an R110, the lot size requirement is 10,000 square feet per lot. In an R16, that's 6,000 square feet per lot. The height is 35 feet in an R110. It's actually 5 feet lower in the R16 at 30 feet. Front yard setback is 25 feet in the R110, R16 is 20. Then also the side yard setbacks are a little different as well. 8 feet for a total of 20 in the R110, 5 feet in the R16. So let's see, public notices. We sent 73 notices of the public hearing for the requested amendment to the zone map within 300 feet of the subject property. So when I wrote this, we had one comment received in the staff report. I sent you an email today from another one that was received a couple days ago. And then we did receive 2 additional comments at about around the 4 o'clock hour that I'll read into the record. So the general plan provides for flexibility in the implementation and the execution of the goals based on individual circumstances. The proposed zone map amendment's been from R110 to R16 has been considered based on the characteristics of the site and the surrounding area. Staff believes that staff finds that the potential impacts of the change can be managed within the densities and uses allowed by the proposed zone. And the proposed zone map amendment from R110 to R16 conforms to the important goals and objectives of the 2017 general plan and will allow for an appropriate small infill development of the subject properties. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map for the properties located at 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street from R110, single-family low-density residential, to R16, single-family/medium-density residential, as described in the staff report. And I am happy to take any questions.
Okay, if there's no questions from staff, then we can have the applicant come forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas. The reason I'm asking for this change of zone is I don't have sufficient frontage, a few foot short, like 10 feet or so. And since I have a big piece of property in the back, I wanted to utilize it for residential. I don't know, there is one recommended dwelling that they said, or URL, something that I'm trying to kind of create more more living cottages. That's the purpose.
Great. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question, sir. So is your intent to develop the back part of that parcel there?
Correct.
So you're going to build additional single-family detached
Correct,
dwellings
yes.
there?
According to what the
Okay.
requirement is asking, yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions?
Any other questions? No. Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
He's the applicant, though. I don't know. True. Okay, at this time, would you like to take public comment first or read in the emails? Okay, then we will open this item up for public comment regarding this project.
Hello, City Council. Thank you very much for hearing our comments.
Great, sorry, just a reminder, could you state your name and address for the record?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My name is Jacob Perry.
I'm his husband, Jeremy Scow. We're at 1500 East Vine Street. We're the property right next to the properties that are being discussed.
Great.
Go ahead, babe.
And we bought our home 2 years ago, and we had the pleasure of meeting Mohammed actually last
Wonderful.
year. And really enjoyed meeting him and heard a very heartbreaking story where in the past, one time in the past, he had approached the owner of the property where we occupy now and asked if he could purchase it. And they made a statement saying they would never sell to a Muslim. And I thought that this was just a horrible thing that had happened. And I think that there should be no discrimination whatsoever in our community, and want to have really good relations with him. And so it's an interesting situation that we find ourselves in that we feel like that here we are potentially standing in the way of him accomplishing his objectives, his dreams. But we are concerned about the value of our property and of the community that's around us.
Yeah, so we want him to be able to achieve what he wants to achieve. But, we have this beautiful community garden behind us. We have a wonderful community around us, and the property values of our homes are very important to us. That's why we actually bought there. I mean, the community of Murray actually is a wonderful thing. We actually have this thing where you are a city, but then all of a sudden you aren't. And now we're introducing on our street the possibility of many, many more homes than what is currently zoned. And the fact that we can build several homes, I wouldn't even mind if you can build several homes on the front of the zone and we can leave the back behind. There's just a lot to this zone that is a little, just undefined, and that's a little bit scary. We have a school down the street, and, you know, when we moved in, they actually re-concreted the street so that it's, you know, better for the traffic flow. And with the school having many more homes on the street that are actually accessible to the homes, because the homes that you showed, none of those are accessible to the homes. All of the ones that you're zoning that are not, you know, that are in this zone, they're not accessible to that street that goes straight to the actual, yeah, let's go back, yeah. None of those actually come straight out to the street that goes to the school. We're already very, 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 when the school day goes, I just wish you would all come out and look at how it goes when the school. But mostly, it's about the property of everyone that has actually bought here. And even if you go up the street just a little bit, because, you know, right now you're looking at this very small zone, but that's a very small clip. Go out a little bit farther, I don't know, apologize, but the people bought here because of the properties, and I want Mohammed to get the most out of his properties. I do. I think he's an amazing man. But I think by zoning this, it will reduce the property values of everyone who decided to make their properties a little larger and to maintain that community that we're trying to maintain in Murray. And it sounds like you've already made your decision, but I would just ask you to reconsider a little bit. And had I known that we could have emailed, I would have emailed. When I read the thing, it didn't make it clear we could have made an email. And so I'm wondering if the other 73 residents weren't clear either, because that was not clear to us. We thought we had to show up here tonight, so we did. And we actually had 5 neighbors who said, could you just say something for us too? So they obviously weren't clear either. So maybe in the future, if there's a way to make it more clear, this is the first city council meeting we've ever been to, but we had to make sure we were. And I apologize if I'm not eloquently spoken, but I want him to get everything he wants, but I just know this is something we need to take more consideration over.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Evening. My name is Keith Lufkin. I live at 4005 South, 1400 East in Mill Creek. I'm representing Cottonwood Presbyterian Church. I'm the current elder over buildings and grounds. I believe you've received a letter from the congregation that should be part of the record.
Is that what we're going to read in?
Yeah, well, no, you received that
Oh,
as
yes.
part of the.
Yeah, in our packet, yeah.
I don't know whether that needs to be read or if that's
No, it's already
entered.
part of the public record.
Okay. One other point that we would like to make is, aside from the fact that we just learned of this 9 days ago, so everything's kind of been on something of a fast track. And it's difficult to understand how we can proceed forward when I look at the application, there's not one line of detail about what the plan for the property is once it's zoned. We are right next door supporting a community garden, not only the congregation, but also what we've outlined in the letter as far as other external groups that use the property. And we have no idea what the actual intent, once the rezoning is done, will result in with the property. So it's awfully difficult to try and support something when you don't have all of the information. And I have a hard time understanding how we can proceed when there's no information given, not just to the public, but even to the board itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lufkin, real
Yes.
quick, may I see, do you have the letter that you
I do.
sent in? Because it sounds like there's more information than in the email that I originally saw. So, no, this was not provided to us.
Okay, so that was emailed 2 days ago.
We didn't receive anything.
Okay.
Um,
I emailed it to planning department, whatever the email is on the, that's concerned.
okay. I'm not sure how you want to handle that.
I
wanna-
think we can just add it to the
The record.
record that we read in the other emails.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're okay with me keeping this? All right, perfect, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, let's
I'm
do
sorry,
a,
so what, that information is in what we were provided, or?
no, it looks like it's a different letter
Yeah,
than what had been sent to us.
It was not provided, so we monitor all the emails that come in, and we document which ones, we save those, obviously. And I do not have one that included that attachment. I did receive one from Mr. Lufkin. Let's see.
Could he read it in now?
We're going to read,
Yeah,
Zach is
I'll
going to read it.
I'll
in.
read it in. Yeah, yeah, it wasn't in the original email that was sent on the 12th. So, last Thursday. But yeah, I will read it in. Ruth went to go make a copy so we could give him a copy back. But for that time being, I'll read the two that we did receive. So first one is from Marshall Smith, board member for Village 3 Condominium Association, chairman for Soul Garden Community Garden. Village 3 condo located at 1525 East Vine Street would like to have knowledge of the use of the property. Will it be single-family residence only, or a single-family residence use only? Will the existing homes be removed? Will there be attached homes or single lots for homes? Thank you, Marshall Smith. Okay, next one is from Beverly Krangle. She states, please defer an approval of the request to change the zoning from R110 to R16 per agenda item number 6. 2 zone changes, November and December 2024. During the prior 2 Murray City Council meetings, November and December 2024, zoning changes were made to Murray properties as to adding accessory dwelling units and also for short-term rentals. Too many zoning changes in a very short time period could be detrimental to any neighborhood. Some amount of time needs to pass to assess the results of those changes before yet another zoning change is made that has the potential to create problems. Fire protection and parking. The whole area is R110 and consideration needs to be made for both fire protection and parking. An earlier request was denied in the area due to the inability to accommodate fire equipment. Occasionally, there is additional street parking when the adjoining church property holds events. Even without those events, I am surprised at the amount of street parking on Vine Street in the evening. Neighbors have stated that it is more difficult to exit a property with so many vehicles parked on the street. Increased density will add more vehicles parking on the street unless the plans provide adequate parking inside the parcels. Disruption and congestion. With so much current street parking and with the projected increase of traffic on Vine Street recently widened, along with 2 recent zoning changes, the combined changes will result in increased disruption and congestion. We have already seen large freight trucks and many delivery vehicles traveling on Vine Street in this neighborhood, often speeding. Many passenger cars, some without mufflers, are often driving in excess of the speed limit. Neighborhood stability. Purchasing a property with a given set of zoning regulations creates the expectation that those regulations will remain in place. Too many changes, especially in a short period of time, creates instability within the Murray City community. Please do not approve the request to change to R16 and cause further disruption and congestion. Respectfully, Richard and Beverly Krangle, 1628 East Vine Street. And then I will now read the letter from Cottonwood Presbyterian Church. So Cottonwood Presbyterian Church, 1580 East Vine Street, Murray, Utah, 84123. This was dated December 17th, 2024. To whom it may concern, I am writing on behalf of the leadership and members, Cottonwood Presbyterian Church, which is located immediately east of Mr. Porkazami's property, regarding concerns related to his recent zoning amendment application. As neighbors and members of this community, we are concerned about the potential implications of this rezoning and the lack of clarity surrounding Mr. Porkazami's future plans for the property. In addition to our regular church activities, our facility houses Wonder Bloom, a child care center licensed by the City of Murray on July 1st, 2022. We also maintain 53 garden spaces for the Stewardship on Urban Land, in parentheses, SOUL, Community Garden. Well over 15 different groups regularly use our facilities, such as the Boy Scouts, Up With Kids, Faith Christian Church, and Toastmasters, to name a few. And these community efforts are integral to the congregation and surrounding neighborhood. However, there is no available information on Mr. Porkazami's application that sheds light on his intentions for the property, nor has he made any effort to engage with the leadership of Cottonwood Presbyterian Church to discuss potential plans or their impact. Currently, there is an opening in the fence between his property and our parking lot, which has been used as an access point to the back of his property. This opening was originally part of a verbal agreement with one of his previous tenants, who used the land for raising heirloom tomatoes. The agreement provided access during the growing season, but this arrangement has not been honored. While that tenant has since vacated, the opening remains in use. Our primary concern is that should Mr. Porkazami begin development on his property, this unauthorized encroachment might expand. We wish to make it clear that our parking lot and the sole garden space, which is at the back of his property, are private property. These areas must not be used as a staging area, parking area, or entry point to his property during or after any development. Furthermore, the Presbytery of Utah, the legal owner of the church property since 1957, has never granted any legal right-of-way or easement to Mr. Porkazami's property. His sole legal access to his property is via his driveway from Vine Street. We respectfully request that the city take our concerns into consideration as part of the rezoning process. We look forward to further communication and would appreciate the opportunity to discuss these matters more thoroughly to ensure the continued safety and privacy of our property and the community we serve. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Should you require any additional information or wish to discuss this further, please do not hesitate to contact me at klufkin@2slc.com or pastor@cottonwoodpres.org. Sincerely, Reverend Nathan Sauter? Okay, thank you. Pastor, head of staff, Cottonwood Presbyterian Church. And then also signed Keith Lufkin. And I apologize if it came across like I giggled at the end. There was a child screaming for people online.
Santa is
and
a little
I would scream
distracting.
too if I had to listen to my voice. So
Yeah. Have we received any emails during the meeting?
no.
Okay. Then I will close the public comment portion and bring it back to answer some of the questions. Do you think you could start with just the process? I know somebody kind of made a comment to, it feels like the decision's been made. Why are we don't have any details. How do we make a zoning decision?
Sure, of course. So the recommendation that's been made is staff's recommendation. So that is not the planning commission's. So there should be an invisible wall right here. We are staff for the planning commission, make recommendations on rezonings and things of that nature. They do not know about the project or have seen it or anything until about a week in advance when they get this staff report. So they look at the recommendation from there. So their minds are definitely not made up ahead of time. They wait until they get the comment from the public and also making sure that that's all addressed ahead of during this meeting before even doing any of that. So that's part of it. And then as the other part with respect to the plans, so Murray City's current policy is that we do not accept preliminary plans as part of a rezoning process. We've been burned too many times in the past by relying on somebody's intention to get a rezone. And so where the commission would see a proposed project and the commission would love it, the city council would love it, and then, rates change or, the economy tanks and then they can't do the project, it gets done and something else happens there that wasn't approved. wasn't shown. Because what we cannot do is hold somebody accountable when we're changing a zone. We can't hold them to that project specifically. So we have now stopped taking preliminary plans before looking at a zone. What the Planning Commission and the City Council do is they look at the zone writ large and everything that's allowed in that zoning district and determine whether it's appropriate for that area. And then if they do find it's appropriate, then they will forward a recommendation and/or the City Council will approve it. That's another thing, is that this is a recommending body for zone changes. So the other items that you've watched or seen earlier this evening, those were administrative, those were approvals and done. This is a legislative item, so it would go to the City Council for a final approval. So they make a recommendation and then it goes to the City Council for approval, which you will get another letter and be able to attend another public hearing to talk about that as well. So, did I say everything?
Can you just talk about, someone asked about, will the homes be torn down and stuff like that? Can you just explain how we don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah, so that again goes back to, we don't know, so the commission does not know what Mr. Porkazami's plans are. We can take with the best intentions of what his plans are. I know what his intentions are for the property. Yeah, I am losing my mind today.
I guess someone with that brought up density, and if the R1 we discussed this a lot in the pre-meeting.
Correct.
The R16 zone, if this property was rezoned, what is the maximum amount of density that would be possible if this was rezoned?
Before I answer, I want to make sure I double check something because I want to make sure. So the maximum would be a total of 4 homes, the 2 existing and then 2 flag lots. That's the maximum, but I'm going to double check to make sure that it's not even limited more than that.
And that would be because any property that is in an R16 zone that could meet the standards of width, setbacks, all of those things to add a flag lot would be allowed to do that, right? So him changing this zoning to R16 would only give him the possibility to add 2 additional houses behind the 2 current houses.
Correct.
There would not be an option to tear down and rebuild multifamily, townhomes, connected houses, or anything like that.
Correct, yeah, they would be single-family dwellings. Yeah, they definitely would be single-family dwellings only, no attached housing, nothing of that nature. So let's see, 12.
Sorry, the public comment portion is closed, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he would be able to do 2 flag lots. I just had to do some quick math on the areas.
So the increase in density would be 2 properties?
A maximum of 2, yes.
Okay. Also, could you address the noticing? I noticed somebody, the Presbyterian Church, and then one of the comments kind of said like, this feels very last minute. We've only known about this for a few days.
Sure. So state law or state code requires 10 days notice of the meeting. And so we are following state code when we send out notices. We do it about 2 weeks in advance. And so it's unfortunate, but that's kind of what we're bound to up to that 10-day notice. So what happens is that we usually get an application and then the following week we will send the public notices to make sure that the application's complete.
And what about the confusion around the email versus being here in person?
Yeah.
Sure.
It very clearly states at the bottom, of the notice that you received. If you have questions or comments concerning this proposal, you can call or email Planning Commission at Murray. So, I mean, if you, I mean, we could, no, you're good. I do think we could maybe make it more obvious that you could comment here instead of attending the meeting. That might be something that would be helpful.
Yeah,
but,
we can look at some of the formatting. We're constantly trying to update and improve these notices.
And make it so that the public does feel like they have the most access as possible. But I think the other piece of the 9 days is that this is the first step in this process. And like Zach said, this is a forwarding of a recommendation to the city council. So that would be, again, like the next step. So it might feel like, oh no, we just found out about this and we don't have enough time to make our concerns.
Do we state that in the language that this is the first step of two kind of?
You know, I think unless you know the process, I don't know if people would know the difference between a legislative item and an administrative item and if it goes
Correct, yeah.
to the city council or not. I mean, that would be definitely a question if somebody called in and staff could talk to them and answer more of those questions. I'm just wondering if we could have the applicant come back up. Could you come back up for us?
Could I ask a question while he's on his way?
Of course.
Is there a frontage requirement in R16 on the street?
Correct, yeah.
And what is that?
60, right?
That's a great question. Give me 1 second, sorry, you guys get to see that.
And along with that, when you're doing a flag lot, is that without the driveway for the flag lot?
So the
Or
flag,
the
driveway for the flag lot can be an easement across the property. So if it's an easement, that could be included as part of the width of the existing lot.
as long as they still meet all the setbacks and everything?
Correct. So sorry.
While you look at that, I'm just going to ask,
60 feet wide, is that?
No, that's the lot width. Lot frontage is 35.
Oh, okay.
does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Mr. Porcazemi, right? Okay, in the letter, there were some questions and comments about maybe some of your fencing between your property and the Presbyterian church next door. I'm just wondering, do you have plans to re-fence?
To improve them, yes, we have to re-fence.
Yes, and so you'll be able to enclose that so that it wouldn't have access to the neighboring properties? Is that part of your plan?
Are you talking about the existing access that it is in?
Yes, that was a
church property?
concern that was brought up in the letter from
I
the,
don't know the procedures on that, that I bought the property that was there, and that gate looks like 40, 50 years, it has been there. I don't know if I could still use it after I develop it, but I am willing to obey whatever the city requires if I am not.
so, yeah, I mean, the city, it would be between property owners, and so obviously, I'm sure you could talk to the church, but it sounds like they want you to enclose that
We
opening,
could do
and your
that
property would be fully fenced in.
After I get of course, right now is an easement that I use because I don't have any other access to the back part. But, of course, when we have approved or we have subdivided so we can come from the Vine Street,
Right,
then I have no need to use that.
okay, great. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Did you have another question?
I'm confused by that.
Sorry, Mr. President, can you come back? We had another
come back,
question.
Sorry. Yeah, my apologies.
No, that's okay.
I thought I heard you say that you currently have an easement with the Presbyterian Church?
Occasionally, we use that gate.
The other gentleman that had spoken earlier said there's no easement ever been granted on that preferred
When I
property.
bought the property, the gate was there, and I did have a verbal conversation with the church.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about like 15, 20 years ago. that can we still use that? And they verbally agreed. I don't know who I talked to. It was a,
Well, and it sounded like in the letter, it also said that a previous tenant had been allowed to use that access for gardening, and that is no longer what the church wants
But
to
if
agree
he
to.
developed this for residences, he couldn't use that as an easement for access to a residential property anyway.
Right, yeah. So, and he's saying it was a verbal agreement, so there wouldn't be a way to access from the church property.
Yeah, so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but in your packet in the back, there's a boundary survey that was provided as well. There is no recorded easement on here, so it may have just been a verbal agreement, not
Right.
necessarily a full-on easement. That's a legal term.
But it sounds like the church no longer wants you to
Wants that-
access that way.
that to be as an easement, okay.
Yeah,
All right, we could definitely stop using that.
great.
Okay.
Thank you very
It's
much.
just the tenants that sometimes they have to get back there,
Right,
but we can make some other arrangement for them.
right, yeah, accessing it from your Vine Street accesses. Any other questions for the applicant before he sits down?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, were there any other comments you feel like needed to be addressed?
Not that I could think of.
Okay, then I'll bring it back for discussion or a motion.
I just want to make a comment, and I think it's been made before, and Zach addressed it a bit. You know, we're Murray City residents, and, you know, we're on this commission to really look out for everybody, including our own homes. And we often disagree. We sometimes don't forward a recommendation. And so that's what we're here to do, is kind of discuss it and look at both sides. So
Yeah.
just wanted to make that comment.
I think that is a really helpful comment. I think also, this annex part of Murray is such a unique area, and a lot of the properties, because they were, county properties, that we now, once it was annexed in, we kind of retroactively applied what kind of seemed like would fit best there. And I do think one thing that would be important moving forward in the next general plan would be to look at, rather than blanket R110 in a lot of these areas, but to look at things a little bit closer and more just with maybe a fine-tooth comb, because, like I said, I feel like what has kind of happened is they got annexed in, they were kind of assigned a zoning, and because so many of them were developed under the county, a lot of them have very unique and individual circumstances. And when I consider a rezone on a property, I really do try and look at the individual circumstances of that property. And to me, I know that around this area, there are a lot of other places that could have flag lots. There are a great mix of R16 and R10 and R18. And that is what we want, to have strong neighborhoods. We want a variety of housing, because you're offering different things and different levels to all of the population. And so I think, moving this property, R16, from an R10 with the church next door, with across the street, looks like, is that multifamily? Are those townhomes across the street? It seems to me that a zoning has gotten applied on a bigger scale than maybe other parts of Murray, where we have more fine-tooth information. I don't know what other people's thoughts are about that, but I think as I look at this as a whole.
Yeah, I can see the concern, if I was living there.
Yeah.
Adding max 2 more houses is additional.
Right.
And it changes the
It will always have an
feel of what it
impact.
is.
Yes, yeah.
But, on a broader perspective, 2 additional houses also doesn't seem like a terrible thing to do either.
Just on this picture that's up there, there's at least 3 homes that I can see to the west there that are non-compliant for R110
Right,
already.
yeah. I mean, that property
including, I
too
think, the one
over
adjacent to it
is a flag lot. I think.
doesn't have a R110 setbacks on it.
No, it definitely, no, it doesn't.
So
Yeah, and I mean, that flag lot, 2 properties over, I think would be a good example of adding density to an area that has a low impact. I'm guessing that neighbor behind doesn't feel like it's now a much more dense part of the neighborhood. Is there any other discussion?
we maybe talked about this a little bit earlier, but I know we've kind of tried to avoid just spot zoning areas. And we're kind of doing this here, but again, the uniqueness of the area
Well, that's why
almost makes it hard.
I
to-
personally feel like it's not spot zoning in the sense that this area has already R16, multifamily, all in the same area. It's just all been only zoned under one.
And that's why I asked the question earlier about if the city considered
Going
rezoning
backwards,
the
yeah.
whole-
And I mean, the map would look really different if the city retroactively went back and said, oh, these are duplexes. Going down that street and rezoning what ones have already had R16 or R18 property or density on their properties without it being actually labeled as that density.
And I think that's the only thing that gives me comfort, well, not the only thing, but certainly a big thing that gives me comfort about this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I also feel like the consideration off of Vine Street, I know it's not a busy street, but it definitely is more of a arterial than just a neighborhood street. This R16 change or this adding a flag lot would be allowed even in a neighborhood that's not accessing off of a Vine Street type of road.
Madam Chairman, I will make a motion that we forward a recommendation of approval to the city council for the request, to the zoning map designation of the properties located at 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street from R110, single-family low-density residential, to R16, single-family low to medium-density residential, given that it is consistent with the general plan as described in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Henry and a second by Commissioner Haristo to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of the properties located at 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street from R110 Single Family Low Density Residential to R16 Single Family Low Medium Density Residential because it is consistent with the general plan as described in the staff report. Is there any discussion on that motion? We can take a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. So motion is approved. For those of you that are new to this process, again, you will have an opportunity to go and speak at the City Council. We encourage you to do that. If that approval is granted, there will then be plans of the plans. So that is where you would see site plans, that was where you would see those things that would be proposed, and those would also have public comment opportunities on that as well. So it would be the same thing, it would be 9 days. It would be email or call. If you have questions, you can email and comment, all those same things would apply. So there are many more steps, I know it feels scary, but there are multiple steps still left in this process. So we're grateful for you being here and thank you for participating in our public meetings.
May I add one thing?
Oh, yes, of course.
I would also recommend actually, while you're here, speaking to Mohammed, Mr. Porkazami, and finding out what his intention is. That can usually alleviate a lot of the issues. Again, there are certain things that this commission can and can't do, but sometimes just speaking to the neighbors just is able to clear up a lot of the anxiety about that as well. So, yeah, that's what I'd have to say.
Great. Okay, we are going to move on to our last agenda item, a land use text amendment. So we'll have a presentation for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, this is a request from Another Round Golf to add land.
Sorry, just a reminder, we are still continuing our meeting, so if you guys would like to chat, we invite you to just step outside really fast. Thank you so much.
No, you're good. Thank you. Yeah, this is a request from Mr., and I don't know how to say your last name. I've never asked. Marolf, close enough, with Another Round Golf. He is requesting to add Land Use Code 7410 sports activities as a permitted use in the CN zoning district. It's really hard to do these when it's so simple. Oh my gosh, slides for something like this. So the 7410 encompasses all the items down here below, 7411 through 7419. So we are recommending that, so I tried to find some of the smaller scale uses. Commissioner Patterson will probably remember when we reviewed an axe throwing business. Those would be types of things that would be allowed there. I looked at like golf simulators, and then randomly, I don't know what this is. It's like some sort of shuffleboard, or I think it was called duffel board. I don't know what that is, but it looked insanely fun, so I added the picture. Yeah, we are recommending, I added a section of the general plan from our economic development element. I don't get to use that one very often, so when I get the moment, I'll use it. Elvan's probably pretty proud. Of course, he's not listening, so it doesn't matter. Just mentioning here, the goal of the economic development element is to ensure a resilient economy prepared to handle future change through the support of a strong and diverse tax base for the city. I think being able to adapt this code to allow for some of that more experiential retail / experiences will allow property owners to utilize it and get better tenants in their areas, and also get, just have a better environment overall. So notices were sent to affected entities for this amendment as of the date of this report, and today we haven't received anything. The proposed text amendment promotes flexibility for businesses to encourage more, exactly what I just said, experiential activities as part of their business model. Proposed text amendment's been reviewed to ensure that the health, safety, and general welfare of the community are maintained, and staff finds that continuing to support retail businesses is supported by the general plan. So we are recommending the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendment to Section 17.156.020, adding Land Use Code 7410 in spaces less than 2,500 square feet as reviewed in the staff report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, if there are no questions for staff, then I will open this item up for public comment. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Can we just talk to the applicant? I see the one person sitting in the audience.
Benjamin Maroff. I live at 2147 East Pinnacle Terrace Way, apartment 303, Cottonwood Heights, Utah, 84121.
Great, thank you. Is there any information you'd like to give the commission about your ideas for this land use text amendment?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I own an operated disc golf shop right across from Wheeler Farm, and we've been open for 9 months now, and this would just essentially add us to have a little bit more of a recreational component on site. Our intended use for the recreational aspect would be to allow for putting on site. We already have a little basket in the shop, and it would just allow for folks during deader times to just like practice putting. And then also installing a little net to put up that we could retract inside, because there's a product that's come out called Tech Disc that allows you to it's essentially like a golf simulator for disc golf. That would allow us to do that as well. Yeah. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
What's your handicap?
Oh, it's different in disc golf. You get a rating instead of a handicap.
Oh, okay.
I'm like 970 rated, and like your average amateur starts at probably like 650 rated, and like the top touring pros like Tiger Woods is like 1050 rated.
Yeah.
I'm not phenomenal.
You're on
but
your
I'm not-
way
I'm not the worst. Yeah.
Who is the Tiger Woods?
of disc golf.
This guy named Paul Macbeth. Actually, he's been around. He's won like 6 world titles now. One of the worlds was hosted up in Ogden, Utah in 2021. Yeah, it's a booming sport. We just don't have as good of a marketing guy as pickleball.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, now I will open this item up for public comment if there's anyone that would like to speak to this agenda item. Have you received any email from? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment portion and bring it back for discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendment to Section 17.156.020, adding Land Use Code 7410 in spaces less than 2,500 square feet, as reviewed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Richards and a second by Commissioner Henry to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendment to Section 17.156.020, adding Land Use Code 7410 in spaces less than 2,500 square feet, as reviewed in the staff report. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we can take a vote.
Sorry, Commissioner Richards.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
Commissioner Harista.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes, and I'd just like to say, I think that we could have approved this without the 2,500 square feet, so that's in the record for the City Council.
And Chair Patterson.
Yes. So motion is approved. It will move on to the City Council, so good luck with your business. Is there any additional business items?
Just a couple things. So we will have a meeting on the 2nd of January, so let me know if you're not able to make it. Also, as part of that, Lisa and Marin chose Costa Vida for the dinner. So expect an email from Rebecca. She's our admin 3. I hate like taco bars and things like that. I'd rather just everybody get what they want. So she'll send out an email with like a link that you can go and pick what you want. So when she sends that, I will probably send a follow-up email because it might go to junk with it being somebody that's not necessarily somebody you see.
Let's take one of each.
Sorry?
Let's have one of each.
Yeah, that's fine. Me too. And Tino's involved with that too. He didn't know that yet, but he'll get one too.
Yeah, you need to eat.
Yeah, right? So yeah, we'll be sending that probably pretty close to the meeting.
Before the meeting?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that. Do you guys want to meet can you meet at 5:30 on the 2nd? If that's okay?
Sure.
That way we can have a little bit of extra time to just kind of hang out.
Okay.
Yeah. So other than that, yeah, I don't really have anything.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn at I don't have a clock.
7:34.
7:34.
Is there a second? Meeting adjourned.